Botches are a part of wrestling just as much as any basic concept surrounding the sport. Even if storytelling is the biggest aspect of wrestling at times, it still doesn't escape botches and constant mistakes in the ring, considering it's a highly choreographed sport which has a whole bunch of factors that can't be accounted for. Botches appear regularly. Sometimes you overshoot a suicide dive and go headfirst into the barricade, or sometimes you slip off the ropes in an attempt for a springboard move, looking at you, Lucha House Party. Even though botches can have scary consequences, like ending careers, botches won't ever disappear from the sport, as it's a contest between humans who make mistakes. Horrifying botches have seen the careers of the likes of Steve Austin, Droz, and Tyson Kidd end. At the same time, wrestlers such as John Cena and Sheamus have seen their careers shortened because of botches. However, they're mostly lighthearted and funny. And sometimes the biggest botch is the booking itself. This is Wrestling Hub, and today we'll be looking at the top 10 botches from the month of November. If this name doesn't ring a bell in your head, it'll be better to address him as Pierre, one half of the New Generation era tag team, the Quebecers. He and his brother Jaquez were 3-time tag team champions under the WWE banner. While Jaquez took his own time to retire from wrestling, having retired in August, his brother is still going at a fast pace. Jaquez was 58 when he retired, and the 50-year-old Pierre is still in the sport. Jaquez was the final wrestler from the Rougeau wrestling family. The Battle of Los Angeles is one of the famed independent wrestling tournaments, and it's hosted by Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. This year had a first-round match between PCO and Brody King, which was won by the latter. However, the match is well remembered for a botch effort to defy gravity by Pierre, as he tried to jump off the top rope and attack King, who had his neck and head out of the ring and body inside. While PCO tries to jump off and attack him, he fell flat on the top rope and stumbled out of the ring in a laughably bad spot. Dan Barry is over-the-top wrestling's adopted son at this point. A darling in the eyes of the fans, Barry is a grizzled veteran of the industry, having been wrestling in hardcore promotions for 17 years now. He's made a name for himself in promotions like CZW and House of Hardcore. OTT is an up-and-coming promotion based out of Dublin that puts out regular shows. At one of their recent shows, OTT Redemption, Barry faced off against Sammy D. Barry was loved by the crowd from the start, but one spot almost ruined everything. As Sammy D awaits outside the ring with Liam Royale, the two prepare to be landing pads for a Barry who was about to fly off the top rope. As he was attempting to deliver a Sasuke special, he failed gloriously and bounced off the top rope and fell back inside the ring. Barry would go on to lose the match. Here's a side note: despite that failed Sasuke special, Dan just shook it off and delivered a perfect Tope Gongiro instead. For however trailblazing and amazing Evolution was, it was absolutely riddled with botches. From the Rumble to even the main event of Charlotte and Becky, we saw a whole host of botches at this pay-per-view. Alicia Fox isn't the best wrestler in the ring, but she is part of the older guard of women's wrestlers in the WWE, having been there since the last 2000s. However, Evolution had her make a huge error which could have caused the entire match to be derailed. As Trish Stratus, Lita, and Mickie James did their best to dial back the year and have a good and solid showing, Fox made a massive mistake. After Stratus took Mickie down with a springboard bulldog, Fox was supposed to break the ensuing pinfall before the 3 count. She clearly missed her cue, which caused an awkward moment in which the referee stopped himself from counting the 3 and gave Fox a chance to sloppily break the pinfall. Yikes. Nia Jax's botch-riddled behavior is no surprise to anyone. Wrestling Hub itself made a video recently about Nia Jax's biggest botches, and on that video we had featured this particular botch and one that will come later in this list. As you probably know, Jax was part of the Women's Battle Royal at Evolution, and she emerged victorious. En route to that victory, Jax injured Zelina Vega by botching her elimination. She reportedly also hurt Tamina in the same match. Vega was gorilla pressed by Jax to the outside of the ring, but this is what caused the injury. Jax threw Vega too hard, and as a result, Vega couldn't control her fall and hit the outside really hard and on her head. This botch caused Vega to be concussed, and she missed a few weeks of TV as a result. Survivor Series is one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year, but WWE did not put a lot of effort into the show. A simple 2-week build did an adequate job of creating hype, but it was more reliant on controversy and shock swerves rather than substance. What should have been the highlight between warring GMs didn't get enough build and the show was flat. The biggest news coming out of it was SmackDown's sole win essentially not being counted. The pre-show saw the tag teams of the two brands fight, which ended with the Usos winning it for Team SmackDown. While everyone thought SmackDown pulled an early lead, but after the first match between the women of the two rosters, which Raw won, the score had been reset. Raw won the show 6-0 when it should have been 6-1. Apparently it was a miscommunication between the producers, but the botch is a botch and Survivor Series suffered as a result. An extremely bizarre house show that WWE has started to hold annually is them trying to honor WCW/NWA's biggest annual show, which was Starrcade. It had seen legendary matches and helped build the legacy of some of the greatest wrestlers in the world like Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes. Now it's been reduced to a house show where wrestlers like Bray Wyatt returned, but it's not canon, just because WWE didn't air it on the network. The main event of Starrcade was one that was a steel cage match between former WWE champion AJ Styles and his rival Samoa Joe. In this match, the referee made a decision that the wrestling rules do not apply to him and just went about doing his own thing. After Styles hit Joe with a reverse DDT and pinned him, he tried to break the fall by putting his leg up on the rope, which the referee ignored, setting a precedent that rope breaks don't count. However, the finish of the match saw the referee trying to get Styles to release a calf crusher and Joe had reached the ropes. The show ended with Styles abusing the referee, probably teaching him how wrestling works. Oh man, this was literally a botch fest. Whereas this entry is going to come into play later on also, but the Battle of the Grandpas was one of the worst things WWE has put on in 2018, and that's a very low bar. Crown Jewel was a show marred in controversy, but made WWE big bags of cash, which allowed them to entice Michaels to come back to wrestling after 8 years, breaking one of the few pure retirement matches in wrestling. One of the most memorable botches from this bout was Michaels missing a moonsault on all competitors. It almost felt like he was trying to hit gold, as last seen at Backlash 2006. Also, Michaels' very first move was missing a double axe handle on Kane. It was a dreadful miss, which raised concerns. Sometime in the match, Kane's wig and mask also came off. The worst of it happened when Triple H tore his pectoral muscle at the end, putting a messy bow on a horribly wrapped present. The third and final botch from Evolution 2018, this was one of the few botches which didn't affect the match that much. The show saw Lynch defend her title against Charlotte in the first ever last woman standing match, and this match was easily the match of the night and set a high standard for the gimmick match itself. It had killer and crisp action, but the nature of the match meant that there would most probably be a botch of some kind, and there was one. As Charlotte had laid a prone Lynch on the top of a table near the corner, it's obvious that Charlotte plans to moonsault through the table and put Lynch down for good. Well, it didn't go as planned, as Charlotte overshot the table and awkwardly landed, failing to break the table. Lynch went on to win this match. Speaking of Lynch, a punch that ruined a big moment for a wrestler and caused an unnecessary removal of a match which everyone was super excited for. Nia Jax's punch to Becky Lynch has been the talk of the internet wrestling community since it happened. Nia Jax has profited from this and is going around with the facebreaker gimmick. Lynch led a super cool invasion of SmackDown women that laid waste to the Raw women's division. In that scuffle, Jax legitimately punches out Becky Lynch, breaking her orbital bone and concussing her to holy hell. Lynch has been playing off the injury on social media, but everything that can be said about this situation has already been said. It was a brutal punch. Even though we've touched upon the main event from this show being a botch fest, we cannot overlook the biggest botch of them all. Having the show and then booking it the way that it was booked, Crown Jewel saw a bizarre World Cup bracket to determine the best in the world, a last-minute AJ Styles vs Samoa Joe match, a Braun Strowman burial, and the god-awful main event. The show happened in the middle of worldwide rebuke of Saudi Arabia with regard to the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. The social political botch of having the show is but obvious. WWE aligned themselves with a nation that all corporate organizations were distancing themselves from because of their actions. The decision even made it into the mainstream as John Oliver used his last week Tonight show to criticize the WWE. Linda McMahon was questioned in the Senate regarding this decision as well. Booking wise, we saw WWE have Lesnar defeat Strowman as Strowman only got a punch in. We saw AJ Styles decisively beat Samoa Joe again, which just seems to further damage his character. The biggest botch has to be making Shane McMahon the winner of the World Cup at the expense of The Miz and Dolph Ziggler. This show was a colossal mess and easily the biggest botch of November. And these are the top 10 botches from November. I hope you're all having an amazing day. Thank you so much for watching Wrestling Hub, and I'll see you later with more videos.